Hey everybody. Today I want to challenge you, to make you think, to change your perception or your thoughts on evangelism. Change the way we disciple people, get them to church, the way, just the way we do it. Because what we have right now is not working. And I say that because when we look at the overall trends in the evangelical church, attendance continues to drop. Every time a study is done, attendance is lower, and we lose more and more of the younger generation. So that tells me that the current model that we are practicing doesn't work. So, but you can point to, there's some big churches you can point to as success models. So you can point to the Potter's House with Bishop T.D. Jakes. You can point to Elevation Church with Stephen Furtick, or you can point to Pastor Jensen Franklin. You could look to Dr. Tony Evans, or you can say, well, what about John Hagee? So there's always going to be the anomaly or the exception to the rule. And you can also point to, we're going to use my home area for an example. I live in a Tri-County area, and in this area we have somewhere in the neighborhood of 400 churches. Now, out of those 400 churches, you can count on one hand the number of churches, maybe two hands with fingers left over, the number of churches that have attendance over 1,000. Now, the Tri-County area, one city in the Tri-County area runs about 60,000 people. In all the outlying areas, we'd say we probably have, 90 to 100,000 people, and with 400 churches roughly, and most of those churches are very small in number. So you have to ask, why? Why is church growth failing? Why is evangelism not working so well, despite all the different methods that we use? And I'm going to say it's a mindset. And here's why I say that. We spend so much time and money and effort to build these buildings and multi-campus sites, and we'll have one campus, we'll have the building with the pews and the bathrooms and the foyer and the ushers, and all that stuff's going to be there. You got the sanctuary and the baptismal. Then we're going to have another building. We're going to call it the fellowship hall. And then we might build another building, call it the youth building. Then we might build another building, and we'll say that's children's ministry. But what we do is we go to this place once, twice, maybe 3 times a week, and then we leave and we go talk to people like, hey, come to my church. And they're like, I don't want to go to your church. Why do I want to go to your church? What's there that makes me want to go? And so our whole mindset is to get people from where they are to where we go, in the hopes that they will hear the professional. See, we have said that the clergy, the pastors, the preachers, the bishops, the reverends, whatever their title goes by, that they are paid and their name is on the letterhead, their name is on the sign, they're the professional. So we got to bring these people, and we got to bring them and set them down in the sanctuary on one of our pre-approved 3 sermons a week to hear the professional speak. And if the professional doesn't speak, maybe it's the semi-professional associate pastor, or maybe it's the bumbling youth pastor gets to speak. But we hope not, because they just don't have the anointing the head pastor has. Or maybe, just maybe, it might be one of the elders, but oh my goodness. But if we know it's not going to be a pastor speaking, we won't invite them that night. So the whole thing starts to unravel, because we got the mindset that only the professional with the title can share the gospel, can lead people to salvation, can lead them to freedom from bondage, can lead them to a renewed life, can lead them to freedom from addiction, can teach them scripture, can mentor and disciple them into a restored, rejuvenated marriage. And that's all wrong. We got it all backwards. See, that's an Old Testament mindset. In the Old Testament, it was all wrapped around the Jewish faith, right? So everybody conformed to the customs, the traditions, the banquets, the feasts. They all dressed the same. They all had to go to the synagogue. They all had to sacrifice the same. Everything was the same. They all had the same 600 and some laws. And then if you wanted to convert and you wanted to worship the God of the Jews, and there are some examples we see of that, like Rahab the prostitute, guys, Ruth. You know, they were outsiders that came in and were adopted into the Jewish faith, but they had to conform to Judaism. They had to look. They all looked the same, talked the same, ate the same. They all worshiped the same. They all went to the same synagogue together. And then we have the New Testament that was ushered in with the birth and the ministry of Jesus the Christ and his death, crucifixion, and resurrection. And the whole paradigm changed. We no longer had everybody the same, coming to the same place, worshiping the same, looking the same, eating the same, dressing the same, going to the same synagogue. He said that he was going to build his church on the truth that he is the Christ. And he told them that you will go out into the world. You will go to the corners of the earth. You will go to Samaria and Judea and encompass the globe. And part of one of the tragedies of the New Testament in the book of Acts was Stephen was stoned to death. And people say it's a tragedy because the church broke up in Jerusalem and people fled to the corners of the world in fear. That wasn't a tragedy. God used an act that was a tragedy, but it was for a purpose. And that purpose was to spread the gospel, to force people out of their comfort zone. So what you do is, one of the classes I had to take when I was going through schooling was about church growth and evangelism, and it talked about you have these circles of influence. So your first circle influence, we'll call it circle one. Circle one's your first circle influence. That's your family, your close friends, the people you work with, the people you see every day and have the most contact with, the most influence, right? Especially the ones you go to church with. See, these are the people that you are very tight-knit with through various circumstances. And you guys all kind of share the same language. You all kind of share the same taste in music. Kind of share this, the same way you dress, especially those in church. And think about it. You go to church. You all dress the same, right? Pretty much. Especially the churches that are steeped in religion. Like, you got to wear your Sunday best. God deserves your Sunday best. Don't come without your Sunday best, right? So y'all look the same. Y'all act the same. Y'all dress the same. You worship the same. You read the same material. You get into the same circles of the same Bible studies and the same trending things and that on the Lifeway charts. And what's failing is you're going out of your circle into your next circles of influence and meeting people, and you're trying to pull them into your circle number one. And it doesn't work, guys. Because you may go to the gym. Let's say circle number two is the people that you work out with, or the people that you see every day when you go eat lunch at the same place. There might be your mechanic, might be circle, or the guy that comes and cuts your grass, that might be circle two. You have a rapport with them. You're familiar with them. You talk to them, but they're different than you, right? And it's very hard to pull someone who's very different from you out of their circle and bring them in and plant them in your circle. It doesn't work. And circle three is further removed from circle two and circle one. So the people in circle three are the ones that you have a casual knowledge of. Maybe you don't really know them, you just see them here or there, and you want to share the gospel with them, but you tell them, hey, come to my church, and they're like, I don't know you, I'm not coming to your church. They might look at you and be like, I mean, you're a super clean cut, preppy white guy, and I hear the music you listen to and you pull up and you seem friendly enough, but I'm not coming to your church. So that's where the current church model is failing. We are not exporting, we're not preparing people to export them out into other circles of influence. And by changing those circles of influence, then you raise up someone in that circle of influence to leave and go into other circles. It's not about dragging people of outside in, it's about preparing people that are inside to go out and change. And it's something that you see in subcultures, right? So you got all these subcultures. The United States, we got this one big culture, right? And then we got a culture within the church. But there's subcultures. And as much as the church likes to bring in corporate models of growth and incorporate that into church growth models, but they fail to grasp the concept of feeding and growing up and raising up subcultures. And we see it. You have subcultures of street racing. That's a subculture, guys. The cowboy life, it's a subculture. Let's say, guys that do little tuner cars, or the race burning street bikes. Those are subcultures. They're cultures within a culture. You've got the subculture of people that work that live at the gym rats. That's a subculture. In my hometown, we have a guy that runs a Ultimate Backyard Warrior. It's like a backyard ninja course, and it's a big subculture, man. And there's people that that can be evangelized, and that can come to a saving knowledge of Jesus Christ within that subculture, but they're never going to lead that subculture and incorporate into a traditional church because they just don't feel like they belong. And some of it is because the church is steeped in religion, and there is a lot of judgment going on in the church. And we see it all the time. And you may not see it, and if you bristle at this, look at the way your church behaves towards outsiders, people that come in that don't look like you, don't act like you, have different thoughts than you, and you're like, oh, nope. Even to the point where we will not recognize the gifting on these people and the calling on them because they're different, and we will shun them and they leave. And then we say, wasn't meant to be. No, it was meant to be, but it's because of your ignorance, your stupidity, and your rigidity in religion that they have left. See, one of the perfect examples of acceptance from someone from outside circle to inside circle is this dope smoking beach kid. He comes into a church, and I've heard the story told a couple different ways, but he came in barefoot, hair kind of a mess, just came off the beach, kind of shredded jeans, t-shirt, and everybody's dressed up in their Sunday best, and all the seats were full. So this young guy, he walks all the way to the very front and sits on the floor in front of the pulpit. He'd never been to church. He didn't know any better. An old, very stately, very well-dressed, dignified elder, with his cane, totters his way up to the front very slowly. Everybody's watching, thinking, they're going to kick this guy out. He doesn't belong. How dare he come into our church like that? And what's this old guy do with the cane? He sits down on the floor next to this kid and just accepts him for who he is. And that was a life-changing moment for that young man. But too many churches don't do that. We try to make them conform to us instead of allowing them to be who they are and grow them up and disciple them and mentor them and send them out into the subcultures. And we fail to prepare people to build them up, to send them to where they can go to the subculture where they belong. I'm in a subculture myself. My career in trucking, it's a subculture. Trucking over the road is a lifestyle, it's not a job. There's a whole subculture around it. Truckers are typically not welcome into traditional church. We don't carry dress clothes on the truck. A lot of the guys out here are not well groomed like your typical white bread Southern Baptist evangelical or even your Pentecostal. They look different, they act different, they have a different language. They're very transient by nature. It's almost a gypsy lifestyle. You travel so much, but it's a subculture, and you get immersed into it, and it's a very neglected. Subcultures tend to be very neglected, but we're not training and preparing people to effectively go into these subcultures to change them. We're trying to go into that circle and drag them into our circle, and it's not working, guys. So I challenge you to reevaluate your circle of influence, your of how it's done, and look at the people in different circles and different subcultures, and pray about and even fast about how you can have an impact on that to effectively impact that subculture without forcing them to try to change to mold into yours. And it's not hard, and it's much more effective. I could go on for a long time talking about the effect I've had on the subculture of trucking with the people I've come in contact with, but I just don't have time to keep this under 15 minutes, guys. I'm telling you, the way we do it now doesn't work. I challenge you to think about it and reevaluate how you do it. Be safe, be blessed.